we are going to venture into a new module, the print module today. So in the upper right corner, we have our print module. Now, one of the reasons, or I should say another reason that we create collections is that when we go into the print module, you'll notice that my access to my folders goes away. But I do have access to my collections. And so it's nice because I can come back in and here's my top 60, which I have bulked up to be 30 images that I have in my top 60. You'll have twice as many images, but for demo purposes, 30 will work just fine. So in the print module, what we are going to do is create print files of our final picks for our assignment, the final choices that we have for our assignment. And in order to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to create a template so that we get the same look to our photos each and every time that we get them ready to print. So if I go up here to the template browser, I can click on Lightroom templates, and as I go down, I can see that there's all sorts of templates. And a lot of these are like 1 4x6 and 4 2x3s or 6 2x3s or a 5x7 or a 5x7 and 4 2.5 like it's a picture package kind of thing. And what we want to go to is the one that says maximum size. We want to make our prints as big as possible. And you may be noticing that when we do this, we get this sort of odd border that shows up. So we want to fix that and center our image within the piece of paper. So the gray areas are the margins that need to be there for the printer. And you can see that the top margin is smaller than the bottom margin. So we're going to set this up as our own custom layout or custom template. So at the top, we're going to make sure it says single image contact sheet, which if we start with maximum size, it absolutely will do. We want to say rotate to fit. And what that means is if I select a horizontal image, it's going to rotate that horizontal image to make it maximum size on the paper. So we want rotate to fit. We don't want any border. And now we're going to look at our margins. We have a left margin of 0.25 and a right margin of 0.25 and a top margin of 0.25. And then the bottom margin is 0.56. Now, that gray area means that's what the printer needs to keep to be able to make this print. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the 0.25 for the top margin, and I'm going to make it 0.56. And then I'm going to hit enter. And now you can see that it's made that margin at the top the same as the margin at the bottom. I'm going to have one row and one column because it's a single image that's on the page. Another thing to be aware of when you're doing this is that it says page 1 of 1. We are going to create individual print files for each of the images that we print. If I select multiple images, I just shift selected those 4 images, it now says page 1 of 4. The reason we want to make individual print files is so that if we need to change something on one, we don't have to mess with the other ones that are tied to it. So we want to make sure we really just have page 1 of 1 and we have our margins set up correctly. We can show the guides. That's all these little guidelines that are around. If I uncheck this, you'll see that's what our print will look like. It'll just be on white paper. We won't see the gray or those black lines. We don't want any background color. We don't want any identity plate. We don't want any watermarking or page options or photo info. We just want our picture on here. So the next thing we need to do is make sure that it's set up to go to the printer and that this draft mode printing is not checked so that we have these settings. And I want to change my printer resolution to 300 and I'm going to leave my print sharpening as low and glossy. Everything else you can leave as the default. So we now have this layout, this template that is how we're going to create all of our full frame photos. So what I want to do is save this with all of my updates, my top margin and my resolution and all of that. So I go up here to where it says template browser and I click on the plus and it says new template. And I'm going to call this full frame because it's going to give me a full frame, large as it can, image. No cropping, no removal of any of the image information. So I'm going to call it full frame. It's going to go into user templates, and I'm going to hit create. And now if I close the Lightroom templates, you'll see over here under user templates, I have full frame. So now whenever I want to make a full frame print, I can start from my template. So this is where I was talking before about how I'm not a huge fan of presets. I'm more a fan of creating my own presets. I'm not a fan of using pre-made presets. I want my presets to do what I want them to do. So I now have this preset that makes me a full frame print. And you'll see how we use that in just a second. So the next step that I want to do, now that I have my print all set up, is I want to go up here where it says create saved print. So I'm going to create this saved print, and what this is going to do is virtually print this for me and create a print file within Lightroom that I can go and access anytime I need to make a print of this image. So I'm going to say this is my first choice, or let's say choice 1, and I don't want it inside my top 60. I want it inside of my collection set, my assignment 1 collection set. And I want to make sure it includes only the used photos. It says plural photos there, but we know that it's one of one photo. And so if I hit create, you'll see over here that choice number 1 is now a print file that's down below my top 60 and has one image inside of it. So now I have to do a second choice. I'm going to go back to my top 60. I'm going to pick my second choice, and I'm going to change my layout just to sort of mess with things. So let's say the layout had been changed. I can go to my user template, full frame. It automatically makes all the settings and gets everything ready for me. I can create my saved print. Choice 2. And I don't want it in my top 60. I want it in my assignment 1. And I'm going to include only used photos and create. And you now see I have 2 print files that are set up here. So I have my top 60, which would have my 60 images in it. And then I have choice 1, choice 2. You can create as many print files as you need. If you're not certain of which ones you're going to use, you can create the print files. You can review them. If you want to, you can right click on it and you can say delete, and it gets rid of the print file. It doesn't affect your image file. It just gets rid of the print file. And so that's how we're going to set up our prints. We will do a in-class demo for using the printers. That will not be an online demo. Watch for the next video where we're going to create our contact sheets.